Now, the previous two stories form the basis of our discussion tonight. And in studio, I'm joined by Joanne Wamaitha, who is the protection officer at the Danish Refugee Council. Before we begin our discussion tonight, let me first wish you and all women a happy International Women's Day.
Thank you very much, Ken, and a happy International Women's Day to all women out there. Thank you for having me.
So let's go straight to our discussion tonight. If you've seen the story that happened last week for this lady who was assaulted by men, I mean, what's your reaction on that? What's your take on that?
First and foremost, that story was quite disheartening and quite a sad story. First of all, from my end, I do not condone what happened. That, by all means, was a violation of human rights, because it was actually violence that was perpetrated to the woman, and we know that any form of violence is a violation of human rights. So for me, I feel like that was wrong, and by any means should not be condoned by anyone. And I am glad of the action that has been taken so far. Those people have been arrested, and we are looking forward to seeing them actually persecuted.
You see, we are seen as situation of punctured masculinity. You know, men are supposed to be protectors. But at that incident, we saw men ganging up against one lady. I mean, how, as the society, have we lost our morals?
I'd say that is an act of toxic masculinity, where you find that issues of GBV, like what happened, usually come up because of when power is misused. So in that case, we saw that men actually misused their power and use that time to actually use their power wrongly and actually violate the woman. They had an opportunity to actually protect her, but in that case, because we say that issues of gender-based violence stem from unequal power relations and social norms that are retrogressive. So in that case, we saw that men ganging up and using their power wrongly instead of protecting that woman and actually using their power to violate her. So that was actually a case of toxic masculinity being displaced, which is quite wrong. And it shows that we still have a lot of work to do to ensure that men actually are allies and condone all forms of gender-based violence.
So many are arguing that you have not heard the other side of the story of why the woman was, had to go what she had to go through. Do you think the story of the other guys assaulting the woman will stand if they say the other side of the story?
Regardless of whether there is another story of how they took up the action was wrong, I believe, yes, there was someone that was involved. There was an accident that happened. There are better ways of how that action, that incident will have been handled. Having to come and strip the woman of her dignity was not the right way of actually taking up action against what happened. So regardless of a side story, whatever happened, how they treated the lady, the assault, the trauma that she had to go through, the stripping her, should not have taken place. I believe traffic police should have been involved and the right actions taken accordingly. But she did not have to go through all that she went through, just in the form of having another side of the story to be heard. Yeah.
So today the world is celebrating the International Women's Day. And the theme of this year is gender equality today for sustainable tomorrow. Do you think as a country we will ever achieve gender equality?
Where strides are being taken, though from what you've seen, far from at the moment you're far from it. It shows that we still have a lot of work to do. A lot of awareness needs to be created, because the incident that happened already showed us that we still, as actors, as stakeholders, we still need to put in a lot of work to create awareness on issues to do with gender equality, issues to do with GBV. I know there are laws, policies that have been created to ensure that some of these things are done, but they are just at the policy level. Implementation is yet to be done. So as a country, I know we were looking at, because the issues to do with gender inequality are at the sustainable level, is a sustainable goal 5. So we are still yet to be there. So as partners, as actors, as stakeholders out there, we still need to put a lot of work. Let's sensitize these people about issues to do with breaking the bias. This year, one of the themes of this year is breaking the bias. Let's break the bias against inequality. Let's sensitize people about inequality. And let's also have men take up these roles, because you cannot achieve inequality just by empowering the women. We've seen that even if the man is not empowered, such actions will not, the inequality or the bias will not be broken. So there's still a lot that needs to be done. So as actors out there, as stakeholders, let's continue doing this sensitization and awareness, and putting even budgets to ensure that some of these policies are actually implemented.
So there have been talks that, the boy child has been neglected. As we pursue and push for the women's rights. What's the place of the boy child in all this?
I know a lot of action has gone towards the woman, and not because the boy child is any less of a human, or because we actually don't care about the boy child. It's because we've seen in the past a lot of things that happen place the woman at a vulnerable place. The social norms, how we are socialized from when we are young. We are told that the girl, her place is in the kitchen, the girl should not go to school. In most cases, the education is traded in place for the girl, for the boy. Opportunities for work are traded in place for the girl child. For a girl to get maybe for a job, they have to trade in, let's say, their bodies. So that's why you've seen a lot of action, affirmative action has gone to the girl child. But yes, there's still, as I mentioned earlier, we still need to ensure that we also don't leave the boy child behind. Because if we continue empowering the girl child and leaving the boy, we'll have an imbalanced society. And once we have an imbalanced society, we'll continue to see many acts of inequalities in society. So even as much as we are putting in efforts of empowering the girl child, we also need not to forget the boy child, because they are also instrumental in ensuring that we end issues of gender inequality in society.
So as we celebrate the International Women's Day, what do you think are some of the challenges that face women more so in these modern times?
One of them, as we've just, what we began the discussion about, are issues to do with gender-based violence. They say 1 in 5 women go through gender-based violence every day around the world. We also see issues to do with harmful traditional practices. We still have cultures that practice retrogressive acts of passage, such as female genital mutilation, early marriages. We have young girls out there who do not go to school simply because their culture says that they should be married off at an early age. We also find that we have issues of, I know we are coming into a time of elections. I will still see the issues of political representation. Women are still underrepresented in government. Then, in addition, women challenges are many, but just to mention some but a few, issues to do with also gender discrimination. Women sometimes just get discriminated for being women, not because they are human. They're looked at first as a woman before they're looked at as humans. So those are some of the issues that women still go through till date. Also, in other areas, we find that also the issues of gender pay gap. I would be working the same position as you, but you find because you're a man, you're earning more than I am. So those are some of the challenges that women in this day and age still continue to go through. Yeah.
So what, in your perspective, what are some of the changes that can be implemented to fast-track gender equality in the country?
As I've said, we have a lot of laws and policies that have been documented, but issues to do with implementation are still very wanting. So if we can have, we can fast-track the implementation of some of these laws and policies. The government has done so well in the Constitution, coming up with various acts. We have the Marriage Act, we have the Sexual Offences Act, we have, for example, the Education Act. So if we can see some of these acts actually being put to, other than just having them in paper, but actually being actualized. And we see, for example, the issue of children. Yes, they've said that education is free, but what about the enrollment? How many girl child children can we see actually in school? What about retention? So we still need to ensure that some of these policies actually are actualized and they're not only put on paper, but actually implemented. That will help us forge forward. Something else we can do is also just put aside budgets. I know all this work cannot be done just by speaking. We need budgets to ensure that, to see that some of these policies are implemented. Issues to do with education. For you to take one to school, you need money. You need for them to be able to take up different opportunities. So other things that we can do to create awareness and sensitizations, yeah, because if people do not know, if people are ignorant, we cannot be able to see some of these changes going on. Yeah, so those are some of the things we can do to ensure that we promote equality.
So, Joanne, there's been this notion that women are their worst enemies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in a country where a majority of the population are women,
Mm-hmm.
but then not many women are elected in elective positions in the country. Why do you think is the case?
Well, I think it all stems down from how we've been socialized, right? From when we are very young, as we grow up in a family, we are told, where are we told that the place of the girl is? The place of the girl, we are told, is in the kitchen. The place of the girl, we are told she's supposed to be a mother, so she's not supposed to take part in decision making and leadership. So all this stems from that. So how we are socialized and the gender norms. So even when we grow up, it becomes so hard for us to believe that this woman who I was taught that her place is just to take care of the family can now come and make decisions, can now come and voice. So that is why you find most times, however, we've seen strides, for example, in Tanzania. The current president is a woman.
So, then that happened
yes.
after an incident where the president unfortunately passed on.
Yes.
Do you think Tanzania will have elected the female president if she had gone to vie for the seat on the ballot?
That will have been, it will have been interesting to watch. In most cases, I wouldn't say yes or no, but it will have been good to see, because I believe that there are changes that have happened just because of having a woman president. But as I mentioned before, most times women are said to be their worst enemies because we as women don't believe in the potential of the other women. We believe that the man should be the leader, the man should be the decision maker, that our voice cannot be heard as strongly as that of a man. So until that narrative changes, we'll not be able to support one another as women. So we need to remove that narrative and stop normalizing the fact that women cannot be leaders. We have seen women leaders who have actually done incredible work. And so all these issues where it stems that women cannot actually, women are their worst enemies, I believe comes from how we've been socialized right from when we are very young, that actually a woman, her place is just to be soft. A woman cannot make decisions. A woman cannot speak up for issues. Yeah.
Case scenario in Kenya. We have the elections in August, a few months from now. But you're yet to see a serious female contender for the presidential seat. I mean, why is it so? Why is it that we have to let the men lead, yet we've seen men in those positions, most of them have not performed. But then you have this opportunity where you can elect your own, at least for once, because I'm sure women are leaders because they care about their family. I mean, will you ever be in a position whereby Kenya has a woman president?
That is a dream that can be achieved in future if we continue promoting the narrative of gender equality and actually having even men support. Because you can find that as women, we can come behind and lobby also for the woman and also support her. But also, we need also to have men as allies and also believe that they can also be led by the woman, because you find it's all a mindset. If the woman can come, not only her manifesto, but also what she's bringing to the table. We have seen, for instance, the work that she's done in society. But if she does not, if us as a society do not believe in her as a woman, what the narrative that needs to change is to stop looking at the woman as a woman and look at her as what she brings to the table. Because already, as I've mentioned, the word woman, there are people who actually just discriminate the woman because of her gender, not because of the potential that she brings to the table or actually the work that she can do. So for us to be able to see that change, we need to stop looking at the woman as a woman and all the vulnerabilities that surround her, but actually look at her as a person with capacity and leadership abilities to actually drive the country to the next level. Yeah. So
maybe as a society, how can we advocate for this change of gender equality?
We can continue doing a lot of sensitization, because if people do not know, they cannot, they say ignorance kills, or ignorance, you cannot excuse ignorance. Some people do not actually know. And first, and as I've mentioned, we need to actually challenge the gender norms that actually are pervasive and are retrogressive, that promote the violation of women or normalize that that women's place, that women cannot take up equal opportunities as men. So we need to do a lot of sensitization and awareness creation in the societies to see that these women, that equality actually is actually met. So for advocacy to happen, it means that a lot of lobbying has to be done, a lot of sensitization. Stakeholders need to come up and support all this act and support all this support in the narrative of promoting gender equality.
So for the past 10 years, we've had the first government under the new constitution. And do you think the government exiting has been able to achieve the 2/3 gender rule? And maybe what's your expectation for the next government as far as the women and gender equality is concerned?
I would say they have made strides in ensuring there is representation of women, because at the moment we have women representation in all counties, but still we can still, in the upcoming government, they can still do better and ensure that the seats that are meant for women are actually occupied. Yeah, so that because, and also it will be a good opportunity to also have the women representatives actually show up and perform what they promised to do. Yeah, so at the moment we can see, yes, we have the good thing that we can applaud the government for is having women representative in each of the counties, but we say that we want to see more of those seats occupied and actually women taking up those roles and actually actualizing the work that they had promised to do. Yeah.
So Joanne, as a parting shot, what can you tell, all the women out there watching you tonight, concerning, coming together as women and empowering women?
So what I'd say is, first of all, as we celebrate this International Women's Day, this is a day that we look at the achievements that have been gained by women socially, politically, and even economically. I would urge all women to continue fighting for their rights, taking up positions, believing in themselves, and also not to let any gender stereotypes limit them from becoming what they need to do, and also just voicing up in case of any concerns. Yeah, so to all women out there, keep doing what you do, keep doing big things and just believing in yourselves. And we celebrate you today and always. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joanne, for your time.
Thank you, Ken, for having me.
Thank you so much. That has been Joanne, the protection officer, at the Danish Refugee Council. And on that note, you're taking a short break. We'll be back with more news. See you on the other side.